All right, folks, welcome to part two of our Wrestlemania analysis. Uh, this is Tony and the Law coming at you,
Howdy,
drinking
folks.
nice, drinking some nice Johnny Walker Black.
Still the same
Hoping,
session, still the same bourbon
yep,
whiskey.
same session, same Scotch. Hoping that they'll come back and say that they want to sponsor us once we get up to I don't know, 15, 16 followers. So, without further ado, let's keep going. Let's get into this. Let's keep our momentum charged. And here we go. Salute to you, Law. Let's get into this.
Salute to you, brother. All right. We have the Raw Women's Championship now. Becky Lynch is the champion. She's going up against Shayna Baszler.
I really am getting like Rocky 3 vibes here, man. Like I really think this is where you just have, because Baszler's come off of the Baszler, however you want to say that name, but she's just come off of NXT, dominant run in NXT, and I think they're going to want to smash her over here, and I think they're going to want her to absolutely just take down Becky Lynch here, and then they want to build, and Baszler's a very good heel, and Lynch is may still be the most over wrestler in the entire company. He may still be that. And I think the more compelling thing would be to see, a comeback story for Lynch, because she's going to get kind of stale. If you just keep Lynch as your champion, it's going to get stale eventually. So I think you want to smash Baszler over. You want to make her a monster. You want to make her seemingly unstoppable. And then you want to have Lynch sort of come back and conquer her to get the title back. And you could probably drag that out for a long time if you did it that way, because Lynch is just infinitely entertaining when she's coming up as the underdog.
I agree with your pick, most definitely, but I think it's going to play out differently. I think Shayna wins. I think she hurts Lynch in the process, kayfabe, and I think they move Lynch in the shakeup after WrestleMania. I think they move Lynch to SmackDown, and I think it's Lynch and Lacey Evans going at it over on SmackDown, and then Shayna is just taking on all comers for a while over on Raw. But either way, we're both picking Shayna to win. So, all right. Yay! We can all pretend that it's like 2008 again. We've got a last man standing match between Edge and Randy Orton.
Last man standing matches are really stupid. I'm sorry. In the modern era, this kind of match is stupid. When before kayfabe was broken, you could do a last man standing match because you could actually try to portray that the men are getting beaten up to the point where they're too tired to stand, and therefore the match is decided. Here, it's like Street Fighter. When one of their energy bars empties, that's it. They're not getting back up in the match.
So I'm gonna Lee Corso you here, though. Not so fast, my friend, because and this is something that I just thought of as I was reading this description here on CBS Sports. They're talking about how the match will benefit from the empty arena setting because the brutality between these two will come across as much more realistic. I don't believe any of that. What I do believe, however, is that these are two guys. I'm not going to call them old school, but they are from a previous era.
That's true.
And you can do some funny camera work to get away with more in an empty stadium. I think they blade. I think it is I think McMahon gives him the go-ahead to do it. I think this match has an insane amount of color that's actually controlled because they're going to get away with it because the only angles we're going to see on anything is what we want to see. And I think that color is going to add a lot to this match. I think it's going to take on an old school type feel because of the amount of color we're going to see here.
You know what? I hope you're right. I hope they do get some color, because to have a match like this and not have color is ridiculous, first of all. You can't have a match that involves people being thrown into metal and hitting each other with blunt objects and not have blood. It's just stupid. That being said, even if McMahon didn't approve it because he hates blading, he's always hated blading. What's he going to do? Fire Edge or fire Randy Orton? He just signed on Randy Orton for like another, I don't know, 50 years or something, because he was terrified that he was going to walk to AEW. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with Edge. Like, what are you gonna do? Oh, Edge bladed himself. You're fired. Yeah. Well, when he's showing up on AEW television a week later, you're not gonna be too happy with that choice. So even if these guys want to blade, now's the time to do it, whether McMahon approves of it or not.
I am a grown man, and I popped up off my couch, jumping and screaming when Edge entered the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. I mean, it was very exciting. He also didn't come in with as much oomph as I was hoping. I kind of saw him and I was like, yeah, it's Edge. Oh man, I hope he doesn't get hurt. Oh.
I do think he was. I feel like he was a little overwhelmed by the moment, which, good on him. It was just awesome. It was a beautiful time. B, what the hell was the entry ramp to the Rumble? Like they had to follow like that crooked Tetris shape to make their way to the stage. I think he went the wrong way first. I mean, all right. So that's neither here nor there. I just wanted people to know how much I popped, and not for the benefit of anyone else. I was watching the Royal Rumble alone in my basement, and when I saw Edge, when I heard it's, oh man, when I heard "You Think You Know Me," I popped up out of my chair and I yelled "No!" And then of course he starts his spears, and now I'm just terrified for the poor guy. So
Yeah. Well, look, I think they got to give they've got to give the victory to him here. This is classic babyface over heel blow off. You're gonna get what you deserve, you son of a bitch, kind of a match. It's just got to be. And Edge needs it. Edge needs it. There's no way to bury Orton at this point. He's too insulated. So it's got to be Edge all the way.
Yeah, I agree. I'm picking Edge. This is the one match where I think I'm going to go against my general rule, which is that all these outcomes are going to make us angry. But Edge.
Orton does have Charlotte level appeal with Vince, though. Like, every now and then you think Orton's down and out, and all of a sudden he's got another WWE championship around his waist.
But you know what though, I feel like Orton, and it's funny because his character is such a dick. He really is. But I feel like Orton is a lot more for the good of the company type of guy. Just the way that his matches have gone, even in the showcase of the Immortals over the years, I don't think Randy Orton is out to bury anybody. Certainly not Edge. I mean, this is the type of thing where honestly, if someone came in and told Orton, "Hey, you're going over tonight," he would probably look him right in the eyes and say, "No, I'm not. You kidding me?" So I think Edge. I like that the next match is listed here because there's a fun callback to make here. The next match is John Cena versus The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. It is the Firefly Funhouse match. I have general misgivings about everything in that statement for a number of reasons. First of all, this is the match with no build. John Cena showed up on SmackDown a while ago, and he told the crowd basically, not like anybody asked, but he told the crowd that he wasn't going to have a WrestleMania match because he didn't deserve it. And then the Fiend shows up, points to the WrestleMania sign. John Cena tips his cap to him, and that's it. What?
All right. So I guess we kind of have to tie this into the Universal Championship match because it's what they did with the Fiend losing the Universal Championship is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen done in wrestling. It was so bad. It was so bad, and there were so many ways that they could have approached this, that they could have approached it to actually make this match meaningful. I mean, all you had to do was start this feud prior to the Super Showdown so that John Cena could be involved with the finish at Super Showdown to screw over Bray Wyatt so he didn't lose his mystique, where if Goldberg would have just rolled him up and got the 3 count. And then Bray Wyatt just goes on this rampage against John Cena in the coming weeks and just brutalizes him until Cena agrees to a match at WrestleMania. That would have been the smart way to do it. You got the belt off of the Unstoppable Monster without burying the Unstoppable Monster, and you're putting the Fiend into a feud with John Cena, who he should beat, and you just catapult his mystique even more. But you also were able to get the belt off of him without hurting him. It really could have been done so easily.
And it's not like they have no precedent for this. This is exactly what they had to do with The Undertaker in every match he had from 1996 to 2004. You know, this is not new territory for them. So who the hell does Bray Wyatt keep pissing off that he gets these? This is now twice Bray Wyatt has taken 2 very different characters, even though, you know, he tied them together. But the man has created 2 very different characters that had their own soul, had their own feel, that were incredibly interesting, unlike anything we had ever seen before. And he ends up getting screwed over for no good reason.
And Bray Wyatt's one of the only guys. Like they always said that about the Undertaker, right? He's the only man in the world that could have made that gimmick work.
Yeah,
it would have just come off as so stupid and so hokey and so ridiculous in anybody else's hands. And the Fiend character is the same way. The Fiend is the same way. Anybody else trying to pull this off, it would just come off as so stupid. But the guy's got the talent to do it. And he's so good on the promo. He's so good with the microphone that he just, it's the stuff of legends. It's just, I don't know. There are textbook ways. The example that I gave you with starting this feud before Super Showdown and having John Cena involved with it, that's Wrestling 101. It's textbook. It's textbook. I mean, when The Undertaker first started hitting his stride in 1991, they put him in a feud with Hulk Hogan. They wouldn't even let Hulk Hogan beat The Undertaker clean.
Mm-hmm.
And The Undertaker was a heel. So first he won the WWF Championship off of Hulk Hogan. Ric Flair interfered in the match. But then there was interference. But then Hogan had to hit Undertaker with the urn to put him down in the rematch to get the title back. And then they got The Undertaker out of the feud with Hogan. They had The Undertaker move on to something else. They had Hogan move on to something else. But they got the belt off The Undertaker without touching his mystique in the least. And that's what they had to do with Bray Wyatt. That's what they failed to do with Bray Wyatt. So now what they're trying to do, what they're scrambling to do right now is put him in the ring with John Cena, have him dominate John Cena, so we forget that he had a ridiculous draw in a Hell in a Cell match, and that he had a squash to Goldberg. So that's what they're trying to do here. They're trying to just set things right. That's my prediction anyway.
Yeah, I don't see any world where Cena goes over here. But I do also have to raise the question, what the hell is going to happen in the, quote, Firefly Funhouse match? And the reason I'm concerned is that the last time we saw this was with one of the guys we were just talking about, Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt in the House of Horrors match 3 or 4 years ago, maybe. And that was a big letdown. It was just kind of Randy Orton walking around in a few different rooms filled with creepy dolls, and then at one point Wyatt hit him with a chair, and then I'm pretty sure Wyatt set the house on fire and drove out or something like that, or maybe Orton set. It was Orton. Orton burned down the house and set it on fire, drove back to the arena, and then Wyatt came in, and then they actually just wrestled in the arena. It was stupid. What I'm hoping is that with their gimmick location matches, because guess what, folks? There's more. That they have the good sense to really map this out ahead of time and use the fact, like I was saying before, with Edge and Orton, use the fact that there's no audience there to their advantage, and give your supernatural characters, The Fiend, and we'll talk about the next one in a minute, an opportunity to do some real supernatural stuff. I mean, you may as well make it a full-on TV show and entertain us if you're not going to be wrestling in a ring. So we're both picking Bray Wyatt there. And speaking of, so then we have The Undertaker, because it's not WrestleMania unless you force The Undertaker to show up, versus AJ Styles in a boneyard match.
Yeah. I just.
What is a boneyard match, you ask?
Yeah.
No one knows. No one knows. They're not telling us.
Yeah, that's a little. Well, putting the match in a boneyard. So I don't know what that. I guess they're gonna wrestle in a graveyard. Is what is. So it's gonna be like. So they're gonna have the Firefly Funhouse match in the Firefly Funhouse, presumably, and they're gonna have this boneyard match. Evidently, they're gonna be wrestling in a graveyard or something like that. I do like that they teased that Undertaker is coming back as Hillbilly Undertaker. That's pretty good.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, American Badass or whatever.
Because that makes sense. American Badass versus AJ Styles in the boneyard.
Yeah, or Big Evil or whatever incarnation of the biker character he was. This is just one of those matches that they think is a dream match that really isn't a dream match. AJ Styles is a legend. The Undertaker is a legend, and it's a dream match. No, it's not. It's a disappointment. It's really friggin' horrible. I mean, at this point, you might as well have just brought Stone Cold Steve Austin back for one more match against the Undertaker. I mean, that's really what they should be doing with the Undertaker now on an annual basis. Is just any legend that could still stand up, any legend that could still crawl his ass to that ring. Just let him wrestle that guy. Let him have a match with the old confused Bret Hart that doesn't seem like he knows where he is anymore.
Yeah, who needs money? Line up. Yeah, Ric Flair wasn't happy enough with his career-ending match versus Shawn Michaels, still one of the best WrestleMania moments of all time. So he had to go to TNA. So maybe he wants another one. Maybe Ric Flair needs to take a tombstone from the Undertaker.
Yeah, exactly. And then the Undertaker could botch it like he did the one against Goldberg and kill Ric Flair in the ring. Yeah.
God almighty.
But I don't know why they're doing this with the Undertaker anymore. And I guess it's just that nobody feels like they have the clout. Not even Vince McMahon feels like he has the clout to just say to the Undertaker, "You have to stop. You're done."
Well,
I feel like
I don't
Vince
think
feels like
they.
too much. I think Vince feels like he owes too much to the Undertaker to tell him that it's time to stop.
And I don't. I honestly don't think they want him to. But what it appears that they are doing is giving him carte blanche to be, you know, quote, more himself and more the American badass biker Undertaker. Look, Mark, if you're tired of being the Undertaker, then get your black speedo out and go on in there as Texas Red. I'll watch that. But but we were sick of American Badass in 2003, and we're glad you're not doing it anymore. So, if we're gonna have a match in the Boneyard, it cannot be American Badass Undertaker.
Yeah. Well, you know what though, I kind of like the Boneyard match thing because it's not going to be a wrestling match, right? It's going to be two guys fighting in a graveyard. It's going to be much like the Last Man Standing match, presumably.
Presumably.
Uh, and I think that's a good angle to take because he doesn't have to walk the top rope and jump and do the old school. He doesn't have to do the flying clotheslines or the dives over the top rope or the apron leg drop or the snake eyes or the tombstone pile, or maybe the tombstone. Maybe they'll work something out that's kind of like into an empty grave or something. But maybe, but he doesn't have to do all of the athletic stuff that he would have to do in the context of a normal match. And it's going to be filmed on the way they're saying it, it's going to be filmed on at a separate location. So there could be camera work, there could be trickery, there could be. If you have to have the Undertaker involved, I guess this is better than actually putting him out there live in the ring in front of people, which obviously isn't happening because of the situation, but right. In front of people where tombstone somebody, he botches it, he breaks their neck, and somebody has to die at a WrestleMania. So,
and frankly, you could even pre-record this. Who's going to know?
They could have already recorded it. Yeah.
Yeah. I would hope that there's just going to be.
And wait a minute. At this point, WrestleMania may already be recorded, right? They're not airing this live, I don't think. I'm not sure. I think they're I think they're recording this stuff. Why wouldn't they at this point?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. At this point, I would hope that they have for both the Funhouse one and the Boneyard match that they have. I mean, each of those matches honestly deserves its own dedicated director. Like, get people that know how to film like movie and TV show fight scenes in there, and get them in there on this, and make it a great value. And you know what? Honestly, if Roman Reigns doesn't want to get in the ring, he'd be a hell of a body double for the Undertaker.
Wow, stunt doubles in wrestling. Did we ever think we'd see the day?
Yeah. Well,
everything we'd have to talk about a stunt double for the Undertaker. Imagine having this conversation in 1993. Yeah, one day the Undertaker made a stunt double. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, I also wouldn't have believed he was still trying to do old school in 2019, but here we are. All right, so no, we didn't actually pick a winner. It's a Boneyard match. Like, can AJ Styles go over the Undertaker in a Boneyard match? I say no. I pick the Undertaker.
I don't think that this is the kind of thing that they're going to escalate into a longer feud. I don't see how you could. I mean, the Undertaker can't possibly wrestle anymore this year after this. I wouldn't think so. I think he's got to win. It's got to be the Undertaker in the Boneyard match.
All right then. Moving on. All right, we have the WWE Championship between the current WWE Champion, possibly also SmackDown Women's Champion Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre. I don't really know what to say about this in terms of a match. Brock Lesnar is and always will be Brock Lesnar, or as he is referred to by his manager. And I'm not even going to try to do it. I'm just going to get the sound clip and pump it in here. And
all right.
and and Drew McIntyre, I have liked all the work since he came back to WWE. Uh, as a heel, I have loved all of Drew McIntyre's work. Uh, I don't have much to say. It's going to be a slugfest. It's going to have a few good stare downs at the beginning. If there were ever a match, Tony, if there were ever a match where someone was going to bring back the test of strength and make it look good, this would be a good match for that. I'd
I
love
know
to see that.
you've been lobbying for that for a long time. You want to see the good old test of strength come back, yes. Uh, but the days of the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan doing a 13-minute test of strength because they only knew 4 moves between them is long gone.
It's still entertaining. Like I go back and I watch that match, and it still entertains me. And I watch, and I know as the consumer that neither one of these guys knows more than that. But damn, if it isn't entertaining.
It is. It is. I mean, that's part of the lost art of wrestling is being able to play to the crowd in that way. As far as this match goes, I got to go I'm going to come right out of the gate and say that Brock Lesnar is winning this match. And I'm also going to throw in a swerve and say that having Brock Lesnar win this match is the right thing to do. You want Brock Lesnar to lose the title in front of a crowd. You do not want him to lose it in an empty arena. I think that him losing it in an empty arena is just the most lackluster possible way. I would have Drew McIntyre give him everything he's got, give him everything he can handle, make it just so close, so close, and just come up barely short to the point where it was so close that Lesnar has to give him another shot. And then I would have him like drop it at SummerSlam to McIntyre or something like that. Because to do this with no crowd, just imagine when that 3 is counted and then there's just nothing, no noise, just dead silent. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. And what are you going to have? The light sobbing of a giant Scottish man as he cradles his belt is going to be the only sound that we hear. I mean, it's going to be sad. It's going to be really sad. So I say you got to put on a fantastic match here, but you got to let Brock hold on to it so that McIntyre can take it from him when there's 30,000 people that are going to get up and scream when it happens.
I like that. I like that assessment. I'm gonna throw a different swerve at you.
No.
And that's so you're officially picking Lesnar.
I'm picking Lesnar because I think that's what should happen, and that's kind of how I've been going with this stuff is what should happen, you know.
I'm gonna go against my my edict again that I think they're gonna pick against crowd favorites because obviously people are gonna want to see Lesnar lose. But here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking at some point in the night, maybe an interview a couple matches earlier, something like that. I think Lesnar does something to mess up Gronk. I think Gronk asks a dumb question and Lesnar punches him, or they're gonna show heat between Lesnar and Gronk. And I think Gronk interferes, and McIntyre beats Lesnar because of interference from Gronk, and that allows the feud to continue. But also McIntyre wins.
So wow, that is a huge swerve. So you think that well, how are they going to work that then? Because they're trying to have Gronk get into some sort of long-term feud with Corbin, don't you think?
I feel like that could happen. I'm hedging my bets here is what I'm doing. Gronk's going to interfere somewhere. And if he doesn't interfere with the King Corbin match, then it's got to be here. It's got to be in the most prominent match uh, where he won't actually look overmatched. You get what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, because Gronk Gronk is taller than Brock Lesnar. He's not taller
Yeah.
than Braun Strowman. Gronk's gonna look overmatched if and there's absolutely no reason for Gronk to interfere in the Universal Championship match. There's no reason for anyone to interfere in the Universal Championship match. I think one of the conclusions we might come to later is that there's no reason for anyone to watch the Universal Championship match.
I'm
But
inclined to agree.
so yeah, all right. So that's where we're going there. You've got Lesnar. I've got McIntyre. Okay. Which brings us to the aforementioned Universal Championship match.
I forgive them. They know not what they do.
And
Look.
It's real easy to want to forgive WWE because obviously originally this match was supposed to feature Roman Reigns, and he backed out because, of course, as a recent cancer survivor, he is immunocompromised. All power to him for making the right decision for himself. And it's easy to forgive WWE because they had to scramble afterwards. Do not, for one very important reason. Goldberg versus Roman Reigns was also going to be awful.
Yeah. Let's not. Yeah, we don't want to give people the wrong impression, and make them think that we thought in any way, shape, or form Goldberg was going to have a good match with anybody at this point.
It's and okay, so then like the more forgiving among listeners might say, oh well. Okay, so the guy that's wearing the belt right now just can't have a good match with anybody. Yeah, but it also shouldn't have been him.
That's right. It shouldn't have been him, and I understand you want Goldberg at WrestleMania. I get it. I get it a little bit. I mean, Goldberg has never been a staple at WrestleMania. That's he was a WCW guy. By the time he made it over to WWE, Vince was pretty set on burying him. So, but
to his credit, Goldberg has shown in his WWE years, Bill Goldberg has shown a tremendous professionalism for trying to redeem himself. People commented that in his WCW days he didn't know any matches. I'm sorry. In his WCW days, he didn't know any moves. He couldn't fight a match that lasted more than 2 minutes, and he might have killed Bret Hart. All of those things are true. But in his WWE days, he has done his best. Let's ignore his Saudi match with The Undertaker for just 1 minute. He has done his best generally to be as professional as possible. The championship match, WrestleMania all those years ago versus Brock Lesnar was awful. Not really because of anything that Goldberg did wrong, but because it was dumb to put those two in the main event since we knew they were both leaving the company anyway. And the audience was against both of them from the start. The only thing that saved it, of course, was that Steve Austin was the guest referee and gave them all stunners at the end. He came back after that and actually had a really good WrestleMania match with Brock Lesnar. Probably the best match that Brock Lesnar has ever been a part of. So
yeah.
And okay, there were a lot of circumstances, there were a lot of things working against Goldberg and The Undertaker in that fateful match. And let's also not forgive The Undertaker. It's easy because of how exasperated he looked at the end of that match to credit him for carrying Goldberg for that long, but he's one of the reasons Goldberg was that messed up.
Yeah. I mean that's true, but there's just so much to unpack here with this. Can Goldberg put on a compelling match against Braun Strowman? The answer to that question is absolutely not. There's absolutely no way. Braun Strowman's too big. He's too powerful. Goldberg's whole shtick is big power, but you're putting him in there with a guy he can't lift up, and and I know he's going to try to jackhammer him, and it's going to, oh God. But and from the Braun Strowman end of this, I've got a serious problem with a guy who just got beaten by Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental title, suddenly just being tossed into a Universal title match. It cheapens the Universal title,
which shouldn't exist.
Which shouldn't really exist in the first place, and this is just proof that it shouldn't exist. So it's gonna be so bad, and the best thing that they could do, and they're not gonna want to do it, but the best thing that they could possibly do would just have Braun Strowman win it quick. But that being said, whoever wins this match, it's just a placeholder for Roman Reigns. I mean, obviously the intent was to put the title back on Roman Reigns. So to me, it's a placeholder. It doesn't matter who wins this match. I just think that what you need to do now is move forward with the compelling storyline of how Roman Reigns had his opportunity taken away from him because of his struggles with cancer and the whole COVID-19 situation, and he's got to work harder than ever to come back again and get his hands back on that title. So I guess what I'm going to go with is Goldberg winning. That's kind of what I think needs to happen here. The best thing would be if Braun Strowman could just win it quick, but Braun Strowman's lost his credibility very recently with the loss to Sami Zayn. I think you got to keep Goldberg strong, and you got to build up a feud between the feud between Reigns and Goldberg. You lucked out. You were able to get away from me because of this whole situation just by dumb luck, and I'm coming back. I'm coming for you. So I'm going to go with Goldberg holding on to the title in probably the most embarrassing fashion possible, where the jackhammer just becomes lifting up a heavy man and dropping him and pinning him.
I agree with you as far as the decision. I think Goldberg, CBS, they're picking Braun Strowman across the board. I think there's a lot that plays against that. I think Vince knows that everybody loves a redemption story, and certainly, he did his best to give that to The Undertaker. And even though Goldberg isn't one of his guys like The Undertaker is, I think that he knows that that's what people want to see. And I'm actually going to go out on a limb and say this is going to be a surprisingly serviceable match. This is going to be a 2.5-star, 3-star match. And the reason I'm saying that is simply based on perception. I think everybody is in the same boat saying that this is just going to be a train wreck. And believe me, that's every inclination I have. But in my experience, when I'm looking at these things and I'm expecting it to be a train wreck, sometimes if the guys involved are smart enough, I think often they end up surprising us. And Braun Strowman is a smart wrestler. He knows how to manipulate the story real well. And Christ, Goldberg's been doing it long enough. He better be smart by now.
Yeah, by now.
I don't think he's going to attempt the jackhammer, but if he does, and he realizes he doesn't have it, and he can get out of it safely, and the storyline can just be that Braun is too big, and Goldberg now has to find another way to defeat him, and he has to get him with like 7 straight spears. Okay, I think people will find that entertaining. If Braun can find a way to sell and help out enough with that jackhammer, and maybe he can. I mean, so much of that is dependent on the strength of the person on top. If Goldberg's not concussed, and if he can actually stand up the jackhammer with Braun Strowman, oh man, the place would pop if there were people there.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. Why bother trying to pull off a jackhammer on Braun Strowman when there's nobody around to see it? Just avoid that situation altogether. There's no reason to put yourself in that situation because there's nobody there to pop for it.
Well, in the end, you want to avoid this situation. It's simple. You make the right decisions leading up to this, and your Universal Championship match is between The Fiend and Drew McIntyre. And we're sitting here talking about how this could actually be a really entertaining match. Not, it might exceed expectations. And expectations are that somebody's going to die in the ring.
Yeah, and I mean it's so bad, and I really hope. I don't know how they're parceling this out because the list we went off of doesn't tell you which day which match is happening. But I'm assuming that the Universal Championship is going to headline one night, and the WWE Championship is going to headline the other night.
One would think.
I would. So I mean, this is going to be a headline match.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a main event match where the expectation is that where we're going to be pleased if it's not horrible.
Yeah.
And that's just what a down note to end a WrestleMania. I mean, I'm assuming it would main event the first night, not the second night. But oh man.
So just to recap,
nobody wins.
In the Universal title match, Goldberg versus Braun Strowman, we're both going against the trend right here. We are both picking Goldberg. In the fantasy what should have been Universal Championship match, my pick is Drew McIntyre beats The Fiend after there is run-in interference with John Cena, who has not met The Fiend yet, who is just setting up their run towards SummerSlam, where John Cena will be the one showing off the acting chops, running through the Firefly Funhouse, and eventually losing to The Fiend at SummerSlam.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hindsight is 2020. Oh dear. I do not look forward to this Universal title match, and let's just hope that if Goldberg does lose, he stops. He stops, and maybe on his way out, he just has a nice talk with the Undertaker about stopping. And and this is just over and done with. I mean, you should always bring legends back for WrestleMania, but they don't have to be wrestling. My God.
And certainly not in the main event. Dear Lord.
Yeah, and definitely not in the main event. It's oh boy, and I'm depressed. We're ending on that, and I'm depressed.
All right, well, let's before we end here though, let's cheers first. Well, yeah, that's tough to follow that one with a cheers, but you know what? I'm gonna cheers for the guy who earlier this year made me pop like a 12-year-old kid, and I think he's gonna win his WrestleMania match. My cheers goes to Edge. Cheers, Edge. Fantastic to see you back in the ring. Maybe take it easy on the spears a little bit since your entire neck is fused together, but cheers, brother. Got any cheers?
My cheers goes out to Bray Wyatt. Because he just gets such a bad rap, and not from the fans, obviously, from Vince McMahon. The guy's so talented. He's so great at what he does, and everything he touches, to me, turns to gold. And no matter how many times they try to bury him, he always finds his way back. So cheers to Bray Wyatt. I hope he just keeps. I just hope he keeps growing, and he keeps growing. Eventually, they just can't deny him anymore.
All right, time to pour one out. I'm pouring one out for the entire women's division. I'm disappointed with the women's card. I don't feel like any of these performers got their just due in a really, really good, compelling match. I think there are fantastic performers everywhere, but it doesn't matter how fantastic the performers are if it's very obvious that one is going over the other. Then what are we doing? I long to see matches all across the board, especially for WrestleMania, where the outcome is unpredictable. And yes, I realize we have a fatal 5-way elimination match for one of the ladies' belts, but I still think it's kind of predictable where that's going. I hope not. I hope I get surprised, but I feel like all the ladies' matches are predictable, and that's why I'm pouring one out for the WWE ladies.
Oh man! All right, I'm gonna pour one out for WWE Tag Team Wrestling. Man, you just look through this card, and I mean, other than the opening match, the Kabuki Warriors versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, the only other tag team, the pure tag team match, one team versus one team, is the Street Profits versus well, it was supposed to be Andrade, but now it's I don't even remember who it is. Who are they fighting? Somebody, a team they're not going to lose to, because there's absolutely no reason for them to lose to them. And then, of course, you have the three-way fiasco with the ladder match with the Usos and the New Day, who we've seen a billion times against each other, and Morrison and Miz. And there's just really nothing compelling here for tag team wrestling. It's a gigantic card, and it's just a complete afterthought. There's 3 tag team championships on the line, and not one that looks like any sort of compelling match. So I'm pouring one out for tag team wrestling. It's in a very, very sad state on this show, and WWE has never really been as big on tag team wrestling as they've been on singles or nowadays triple threats. But oh man, it's this is as bad as I've seen tag team wrestling booked on a WrestleMania in a long time. I'm pouring one out. I'm pouring 2 out.
Yeah, that seems appropriate. We'll pour 2 out for the tag teams.
Yeah, see that? There's always a method.
Well, that just about wraps up everything we can say about WrestleMania. I think if I had to pick one word to describe this card, I would say underwhelming. I hope that they rise to the occasion and prove me wrong, because I'd love to be entertained, because it ain't like I'm changing the channel.
That's right. There's nothing else to watch. And not only do they have to rise to the challenge of making a lackluster card, shine it up a little bit and make it look like something, they also have to do that with no audience. Nobody to cheer, nobody to boo, just empty echoes of their bodies slamming against a canvas or a boneyard or whatever's going on. But this is already a hard enough card to shine up real nice and make it look like something. And now you're doing it in an empty arena. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Well, here's hoping it's something. Until next time, he's Tony.
And he is the law.
We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Cheers, everybody.